Chapter 517, The Treasured Body of the Three Spirits. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Huang Yanchen said, "Are we going to the primitive world of Xuanwu right now? We don't have to hurry." Zhang Yuochen said, "Since everyone now knows that Huang Sheni has gotten the Xuanwu heritage, there must be a great many soldiers of the primitive world rushing one after another to the primitive world of Xuanwu to search for the place of succession. Moreover, I obtained the remains of Huang Sheni, which will make everyone believe that I have some clues. And if I'm not wrong, there have been a lot of great forces watching my every move. No one dares to hurt me when I am in chaotic Millionverse Mountain, but I will be chased by many people if I set off to go to the primitive world of Xuanwu, just like pulling one hair moves the entire body. If so, I can't do anything." Huang Yanjun also frowned, reminding him that he was in first place on the heaven board and his military merits were over 10 million points. "Everyone knows that you will go to the battlefield of the primitive world to kill indigenous creatures and accumulate military merits to reach the ultimate realm of the heaven realm. Therefore, the Moon Worship Demonic Sect and the Black Market Excellent Hall are sure to dispatch a great many masters to prevent that and kill you to keep you from actually reaching the realm." Zhang Yuochen nodded his head, saying, "So, now we should first practice in the yin-yang wooden graph to improve our martial cultivation and wait to see the changes." Zhang Yuochen gave Huang Yanjun the Xuanwu Qi to let her practice and improve her martial arts realm. The holy bottle, which was used to keep the Xuanwu Qi, was held by Zhang Yuochen and he studied it carefully. Swoosh. Then, there was a green pillar of genuine Qi running out of his palm that wrapped around the holy bottle. The holy bottle revolved slowly and left the ground to fly into the sky. In the bottle, 137 inscriptions emerged. They sent forth a glorious light of green and white, as if to separate the world into two halves. Meanwhile, the bottle gradually began to swell, becoming nearly 10 meters high. With a push from his palm, the holy bottle flew out and crashed into a small hill dozens of miles away, creating a loud noise. The ground suddenly shelved, lifting up a blast of black dust. When the dust had dispersed, one could see that the hill had sunken down and the dust swelled around it, forming a small crater. Return. With a wave of his arm, the bottle flew from that huge hole and again became as small as a hand, lying in the center of his palm. This treasure would be very powerful if it could reach even the lowest level of a holy weapon. He was really reluctant to give such a holy weapon to the Abyss Ancient Sword to refine. "Maybe I can engrave the inscription of space on this bottle and refine it into an auspicious vase." His eyes brightened and he immediately took the spiritual pen to implement that idea. Zhang Yuochen had used a piece of simple jade stone to refine an auspicious vase, which could only be used to store some liquid spiritual dose with weak fighting power. What would happen if using a holy bottle to refine the auspicious vase? In addition, his spiritual power had improved to the 42nd level and he was able to engrave some more complicated inscriptions. Zhang Yuochen was very excited and began to make preparations. First, he took out the weapon refining stove and put the spiritual crystal with fire nature into the stove to enhance the fire. If he wanted to continue to engrave the inscription on it, he would have to refine it on the grounds that the holy bottle had become a finished product. It took Zhang Yuochen 1 month to engrave 72 inscriptions of space onto the bottle to refine it into a space treasure, the auspicious vase. Holding the treasure vase in his hand, Zhang Yuochen was so excited that he thought the number of inscriptions on the vase had reached 209, which was almost as many as were on the Abyss Ancient Sword. Zhang Yuochen demonstrated his bodily movement and turned into a shadow to go to the edge of a clear green lake. Looking around, there was a stream of white fog floating over the lake. A leaf would drop and fall into the lake from time to time, forming circular ripples. Swoosh. Zhang Yuochen lifted the auspicious vase, which was still only the size of a palm, and it turned into a blue light and flew over the lake. In the mouth of the bottle appeared a vortex, producing a strong suction. Swoosh. The calm lake immediately boiled up and turned spirally to form into a column of water, flying up into the sky and rushing into the auspicious vase. After a moment, all the water in the lake was collected into the auspicious vase. The auspicious vase flew back with a wave of his fingers. Holding the auspicious vase, Zhang Yuochen shook it slightly. There was a burst of a swoosh in the bottle as though it had not yet been fully filled. Zhang Yuochen lifted up the bottle and took a sip. Like dewdrops or a good wine, the sweet and cool water entered his throat and then his stomach. This water is indeed from the sacred prime tree. Even if it is only lake water, it is the same as a spiritual spring and can help warriors refine their physical quality in Kunlun's field. Even for ordinary people, drinking it can also prolong their lives. The picture scroll world was a wholly treasured place just like paradise, and its only shortcoming was a lack of vitality. Having only plants and no animals, it appeared to be extremely peaceful. Actually, it was easy to understand. After all, this world had not been stable until the sacred prime tree absorbed the chi of origin from the primitive world of the wood spirit to let it be fully formed. In such a short time, it was impossible to breed animals. Zhang Yuochen poured back the water of the auspicious vase and, immediately, the lake that had been dried up became a blue water lake again. He was dressed in white like an immortal on a scroll and, sitting down by the lake, he took the jade casket that was given to him by Duanmuk Singling and put it on the grass. When the casket was opened, a scarlet bloodlight rushed out from it, emitting a disgusting bloody smell. Inside the casket was some blood-red soil, which looked like blood had been poured on it. It was one of the 5 elements spirit treasure, the blood soil for the saint. Zhang Yuochen first refined the black glazed spinel and practiced to the treasured body of the water spirit. After then, he refined the purple cloud pattern dealwood and practiced to the treasured body of the wood spirit. Now, he would refine the blood soil for the scent and practice to the treasured body of the earth spirit. The blood soil for the scent was not really blood that had been poured, but it contained extremely rich original spiritual chi with earth nature, which gave it the color of blood. If I was able to practice to the treasured body of the earth spirit, then I would be the treasured body of the 3 spirits. There was a firm will in his eyes, full of expectation. According to the legend, the treasured body of the 3 spirits could challenge a saintly being from the same realm. That was to say, as long as Zhang Yuochen could practice to the treasured body of the 3 spirits, his physical condition would be no different from a saintly being and would also be as strong. If Zhang Yuochen could practice to the treasured body of the 4 spirits, his physical condition could even compare with a heartless saint being, a genuine dragon body, an innate extreme yin body, and an innate extreme yang body. However, Zhang Yuochen had already felt it very difficult when he practiced the treasured bodies of the double spirits. Practicing the treasured body of the 3 spirits could be as difficult as climbing into the sky. As for the treasured bodies of the 4 spirits, it would be impossible for anyone to succeed without any special chances. What could be called a special chance? For example, Di was once a simple saintly being, but because his demon's heart was dug out by Zhang Yuochen, which left him between life and death, he miraculously practiced to the heartless saint being. In this way, he not only walked away from death, but even also improved his physical condition. A heartless saint being could be called an immortal, who was more powerful than other saintly beings. This was the so-called chance. If Di had not had his heart dug out by Zhang Yuochen and had not walked between life and death, then he could not have practiced to the heartless saint being. A chance could let you soar, but it could also cause you to die without a burial place. In the same way, Orange Star Emissary had an innate lunar body and she also needed a chance. If she had no chance, she would never be able to practice to the innate extreme yin body. Zhang Yuochen temporarily withdrew his mind and began to refine the blood soil for the saint. His main goal was to practice to the treasured body of the 3 spirits. As for the treasured body of the 4 spirits, it was far away from him. Refining the blood soil for the saint does not require practicing to the treasured body of the 3 spirits, but it at least requires making a breakthrough in cultivation to the intermediate stage of the completion of the heaven realm. Bang! Zhang Yuochen hit it and the blood soil for the saint immediately turned into bloody red sand and flew up to wrap around his body. If spiritual chi was injected into the eyes, one would see the bloody sand flying in midair and revolving rapidly, making a humming sound and rushing into him. The people of the Black Market Excellence Hall also lived in 10,000 Fields Tavern. Di stood by the lake with a black holy sword in his hand, remembering the image of Huang Shenyi being killed by Zhang Yuochen in the heavenly ring. Suddenly, His eyes became extremely sharp. The sword moved first before his hands did. Swoosh. Yi appeared about 10 meters away and wielded his sword. However, his sword, which had only made it halfway, was pinched by the 2 fingers of cyan-robed emissary and was fixed in midair. Yi withdrew his sword, asking, "What about this sword?" Cyan-robed emissary shook his head and said, "Compared with the sword of Zhang Yuochen, it is very inferior. I can't catch his sword with 2 of my fingers." Cyan-robed emissary ranked 3rd among 7-star emissaries. However, her cultivation was second only to Purple Wind emissary and had reached the 7th change in the Fish Dragon realm. If she were to kill a warrior in the Heavenly realm, she would not even have to use her hands at all. Instead, she just needed to blow at her opponent, which would turn them into a cloud of bloody fog. However, she claimed that using her 2 fingers she could not catch Zhang Yuochen's sword. Through this comment, one could see how terrifying the sword technique of Zhang Yuochen was. "I never knew that I was so inferior compared with him. Therefore, there is an 80% chance for me to be defeated by him before I have practiced the Heartless Saint being to the small success," Yi said. At this time, Green Robe Emissary and Red Wish Emissary came in from the outside. "Go see the young master." Green Robe Emissary and Red Wish Emissary bowed at the same time. Yi looked and smiled, saying, "Red Wish Emissary is also back." "Oh, your cultivation seems to have improved a lot. Has it reached the completion of the Heaven Realm?"